All right, practice, qualifying, everything is over. It is time to go racing. Up front will be Steve Kubay and Josh Rogers on the front row. Bradley Berry leading his team, and John Schermatz on the second row. Gregory Marks, Jeffrey Heaney on the third row. Charles Knobb and Keith Moyer on the fourth row, and the fifth row is John Saunders and Chuck Knobb. And it looks like there's actually two team knobs. That's a little strange. That could get interesting. We'll have to wait and see. Well, Chuck has taken to the grid. And let's take a quick look. As we mentioned, there's the lineup. What we're looking for is this. The track temperature currently 76 degrees. Air temperature currently 75. And regardless of how cold that air temperature gets here tonight, that track temperature will continue to go up throughout the race. Teams rolling off for their pace lap in the dark. Now remember, as mentioned, this is the legacy version of Daytona. There are places where there is not a ton of light. Not nearly as much as the current version of the current version of Daytona, and just one of the many things the drivers will have to overcome here tonight. Expect a lot of great side-by-side battling. Expect a lot of strategy to play out here as well. And expect that Mercedes, if nothing else, to sound really, really tough. That is one of the best sounding engines on iRacing. Let's see if we can get the same. You really don't get the same sound out of it in car. But we will get some close-up views of it, especially on throttle. Not the best turning car by a mile, but definitely the best sounding. Hey, good evening, Cody. Now they come too wide out onto NASCAR turn 2, down the back straightaway towards the bus stop. And as we mentioned, from Steve Kubay's car, when they come out of the turn, you'll see not a ton of light. A little bit brighter right now just due to the fact that the whole field is together. Once they spread out, there you see it down the back straightaway from turn 2. When they're alone, they will not be able to see the cones at the bus stop. I think during practice it was right about there where they could start seeing the bus stop cones being reflected. Also, one of the most popular braking point markers is not present on this version of Daytona. There's a patch of asphalt just past the number 2 as you go toward the bus stop that a lot of drivers use for their braking point into the bus stop. That is not present on the legacy version. A lot of things different, so everybody had to look for new braking points here tonight. Eight teams on track. Some of these drivers going for it solo. A couple of teams out there going at it as a team as well. Will the solo drivers get worn out late in the race, and the teams with fresh drivers, will they be able to take advantage of it? Pace car getting ready to drop in. We're going to go racing. Pace car is in. Steve Kubay leads them down to the start-finish line. Green flag is in the air. They are racing at Daytona. Turn 1, always a bit exciting on this first lap. So far, so good. Everybody makes it around. John Saunders and Charles Knob 2 did not take to the grid. And Steve Kubay leads into the middle of the infield, down through the kink. Back to the second horseshoe. Josh Rogers staying right there with him. Look for the Mercedes power to cut. Wow! That Mercedes really got an amazing turn. Having watched a lot of those race on road courses, it's not something you normally see. And we've got chaos behind. You're watching John Schermatz as he dives into the International Horseshoe. He goes wide into the outside wall. Keith Moyer had an incident as well. Also in the International Horseshoe. Just pushes a little wide. Charles Knob also had an issue and went off track. Look, that was extremely strange. He just snapped loose. I'm wondering. Let's see if we can get an in-car view of that one. Dial up his camera in-car. He got on the brakes really, really hard, making sure he did not get in to anybody, and when he did, send himself around. Great job trying to keep the car out of trouble. But problems early for a lot of drivers. Really impressed so far with Josh Rogers. Time will tell, but the fact that that Mercedes is keeping up with the Porsche here is impressive. Not to mention the fact that the way that Josh has that Mercedes turning, especially with the fixed setup and a fixed medium downforce setup at that, and an endurance setup as well. Definitely a great drive so far. And it looks like Jeffrey Heaney has crashed. Down, getting ready to turn out into NASCAR 2, and just does not get around. Gets the car stuck in the wall. He had to tow to pit road. Worth noting, damage is turned off for this race. It is a fun event for these guys. So everybody still has a chance. Jeff having to tow because he was stuck in the tire barrier, but had he been able to get out, the car would have been fine. Josh Rogers in second place, still holding on, just less than a second behind Steve Kubay. Bradley Berry is the first driver for his team. In third, he is about 6 seconds back right now, but expect him to come forward. John Schermatz, despite the incident in the International Horseshoe, currently running in fourth. Gregory Marks currently in fifth. Keith Moyer in sixth. Chuck Knob in seventh. Jeff Heaney in eighth place, still on pit road. Two teams did not take to the grid, have not come off of pit road. It is currently the Germans leading Porsche, Mercedes, Porsche, 3 Ferraris, and then a Porsche. I'm sorry, 3 Ferraris and then the Lambo of Chuck Knob. Expect to see that Lambo really come forward. A lot of guys in different leagues, the GT3 NSS series, have moved to the Lamborghini for this season. And there you hear it. Let's see how close we can get in on Josh Rogers' car as he goes through the infield. And it just sounds extremely tough. Jeffrey Heaney has left pit road, is back out on track. Meanwhile, Josh Rogers staying within draft range, especially on the straightaways of the leader. Bradley Berry back in third. And there you can see the position of every driver and where they are. Bradley Berry currently indicated with the green circle. Steve Kubay, though, out front. Checking his lap times, they are extremely consistent. His fastest lap, a 147.19. His last lap, a 147.25. Just 600ths of a second difference, and it's been that way since the opening lap of this race. But Josh Rogers being able to stay with him. John Shermatz is another one. He is running faster than the car in front of him, driven by Bradley Berry, at the moment about a second a lap faster. He is about 4 seconds back from him and gaining rapidly. A lot of racing left to go, though. These guys, anything could happen at any point in time. And with the changing track conditions as the race goes on, things could get even more interesting as the tires heat up and then the track starts to heat up. These guys could start slipping and sliding, especially through these sections of the infield. Josh Rogers just ran the fastest lap of the race. He was 0.6 of a second faster than Steve Kubay last time. Bradley Berry still running in third. Consistent laps, just not the same speed. And John Shermatz is flying. Last time we looked at him about a half a lap ago, he was 4 seconds behind Bradley Berry. He's cut that in half now, down to 1.8. And that new Ferrari is definitely extraordinarily fast. And there you see Greg Marks and Keith Moyer also battling for position. That is for 5th. Gregory Marks currently in 5th. Keith Moyer right on his back bumper. And Chuck Knobb currently working his way out to the banking. Josh Rogers just ran the fastest lap again, beating his own previous time, and the only driver so far in the race to break a 147. He ran a 146.9. I don't think we will see many laps faster than that as tires wear down, as rubber is laid down on the track. I think you'll see the time slow down just a little bit overall. That could be the fastest lap of the race. And I have to wonder if Josh Rogers' strategy is to not even push the car, just to stay in Steve Kubay's toe for the race, save a little bit of fuel back there. Hey Randy, sorry you couldn't be here, buddy. Okay, so Russell is saying that Chuck Knob took his number, so now he has to win. We'll see if he can get that done. I really think Josh Rogers is playing a little strategy here. He has been able to catch up. He has not made an effort to pass yet. No, I may have spoke too soon. Looked like he was going to try and make something happen on the bottom, but backed out of it. That Mercedes power is definitely an advantage here at Daytona. Gregory Marks just went off track. Coming down into the bus stop. One wrong move through the bus stop and you are in trouble. He just clips the grass, but it's enough at those speeds to send him around. Manages to hold the car in the grass till the other drivers get by, gets it going again. And let's hop in the car with Steve Coubet. You can see just how dark it is with this legacy version of the track. Down into the bus stop. You see some lights around the track. He is right on the edge through the bus stop. Really pushing that Porsche to its limit going through there, but what a run he is having. Hopping in the Mercedes of Josh Rogers right behind. Josh Rogers now looking to the high side this time. He is going for the lead. No strategy here. He stayed in behind so far. Oh, he lets him back by. Doesn't seem like he is pushing the issue too much. He is waiting for the right opportunity. Keeps getting position on him, but just not pushing it that extra little bit this early in the race. Steve Coubet has already been... No, excuse me, I stand corrected. They are clipping that turn one so closely that it actually alerts to that they are going to pit road. Back in third place, Bradley Berry is holding off John Schermatz, but how much longer can he? Schermatz takes that turn a little bit wide, trying to carry as much momentum as possible. He is now within a half a second of Bradley Berry, easily within drafting range. Down the back straightaway, will he close up the gap? And he does. He is right on the back bumper as they get to the bus stop. Gives Bradley a little bit of room through the bus stop. A lot of times the best way to make a pass is to outbrake into turn one or outbrake into the bus stop, but it is a little bit tricky, and if you get it wrong, it can cause a big, big problem. Good luck, Russell. Looking forward to seeing you Wednesday night, buddy. Down through turn one, John Schermatz not pushing the issue yet. Through the International Horseshoe, he closes up so much on corner entry. Through the infield, looks like they are fairly equal. The Porsche definitely has the handling advantage. But oftentimes the drivers say that the just due to the rear engine configuration on the Porsche, it is way easy to get it loose coming off of a turn on throttle. Keith Moyer back in 5th. Gregory Marks currently running in 6th. Chuck Knobb in 7th. Jeffrey Heaney has had a problem again. Looked like he was just coming back out on track and gets into the wall. Just overshoots the horseshoe a little bit. With damage turned off, it definitely pays off for these guys to be able to continue. Steve Kubay has crashed. There's Steve Kubay sending it off into turn 1. Oh, he clipped the inside tire barrier. Josh Rogers backed out of it. Tried to give him room to recover. Steve Kubay gets it going again, but it is now Josh Rogers to the lead. And what a lead he has now, 8 seconds. He is actually starting to get into lap traffic. As I believe it is Charles Knobb right in front of the leader. Bill Schumatz is on pit road. Down through the bus stop, Josh Rogers just continues to be the fastest car on track. He is getting down to the bottom, going around the lap car. Looks like they might end up drag racing this down into turn 1. Chuck Knobb rolls out of it just enough to let Josh Rogers by. Steve Kubay in 2nd, now 8.5 seconds back. Bradley Berry in 3rd. Keith Moyer is now in 4th. Bill Schumatz went to pit road earlier, right as I'm looking to see if he had an issue, because he was right on Bradley Berry's back bumper. It was a little bit early for a fuel stop. We'll wait and see how things play out there. Meanwhile, the field continues to spread out a lot at this point. Now, pit stops will be coming soon, and when they do, the field will bunch back up to some degree. Plus, you have the different strategy choices. It looks like Bill Schumatz might have taken 4 tires on his stop. He either took 4 tires or he got a penalty. Steve Kubay has started having some real problems after leading early. Gets a little bit loose coming through the second horseshoe. Gets the car turned around and going again. Jeffrey Heaney also had an incident. And that is through the international horseshoe. Just pushes a little too hard trying to get out of the turn and ends up in the grass. Steve Kubay still holding on to second place, but now 15, almost 16 seconds behind the Mercedes of Josh Roberts. Bradley Berry now 17 seconds back in third, then another 11 seconds back. Keith Moyer in fourth. Gregory Marks in fifth is 21 seconds back from Keith. 25 seconds back is Bill Shermatz, who has already been to pit road despite no incidents. Chuck Knobb, another 30 seconds back, no longer on the lead lap. Bradley Berry was trying to hold off Bill Shermatz there for a while. And let's take a lap with the leader as he crosses the start-finish line down into turn one. Late on the brakes, hard on the brakes, swings it a little wide, cuts back across the apex. Then down into the International Horseshoe, hard right-hander. Cuts down as low as possible, as late as possible. A little wiggle on throttle. Has to do a little correction down into the kink. And you see just how bumpy that is. Can easily unsettle a car. Into the second horseshoe and then back towards NASCAR turn 2. Back out toward the banking, a little bit trickier. It is so easy to spin your car. As you get on the throttle there, get into NASCAR 2, down towards the back straightaway. And Josh Rogers is holding the throttle at 6,000 RPM. He is in fuel-saving mode here. Into the bus stop. Could he be out of fuel? Or very low? Will he hit pit road this time? He's got a big lead. That lead is shrinking. I think he might be out of fuel. Did hear some of the teams say they were going to be switching drivers out about every half hour. Might explain Bill Shermatz's early pit stop. Josh Roberts comes down. He did not go to pit road. He is definitely in a fuel-saving mode here. He had a almost 20-second lead at one point. It has dropped now to 5. On the throttle, down through the International Horseshoe. We'll see if he starts as Steve Kubay starts to gain on him. Will he start pushing again? It looks like he is starting to push again. The lead now just 2.5 seconds. As he gets back onto the back straightaway, will he go full throttle this time? Definitely going full throttle as he comes up through the gears. And yes, he just did a single lap saving fuel. Great strategy. He had the time to give up, and now he's starting to extend his lead again. Looks like Jeffrey Heaney had another incident. Again, just going a little bit wide through the second horseshoe. Chuck Knopf also had an incident. Down through the international horseshoe, just goes a bit wide through the international horseshoe. The horseshoes seem to be getting everybody tonight. Josh Rogers has re-extended his lead now to 6 seconds. Bradley Berry in third, now 30 seconds out of the lead. Should be expecting a driver change in the next couple of laps. Keith Moyer in fourth. Gregory Marks in fifth. Bill Shermott's up to sixth now. Could Bill have pitted early and to be on a different pit strategy than everybody else? Nobody else has come to pit road without having some sort of incident to bring him there. Steve Coubet in second. He is starting to gain time again. Looks like Josh Rogers is saving fuel again. Lets Coubet get within about 5 seconds, takes off again. Coubet in second place, hanging around 5 seconds back. Bradley Berry in third. Nobody comes to pit road this time. The leader coming through the International Horseshoe. And it looks like Jeffrey Heaney went off in the other horseshoe. He is off on the left as the leader comes by. Let's see what happened there. Down through the International Horseshoe, just a little bit wide on that one. Gets back up to speed. Down through the kink. It looked like the kink might have unsettled the car just a little bit. Let's see. There's another incident listed here. Oh, down through the kink on the next lap, just gets off into the grass, out to the outside wall. Jeffrey Heaney definitely having a rough race, but you got to give the guy credit. He is not giving up. Steve Coubet in second, now about 4 seconds back from the leader. Watching to see when and where the first stops will begin. Obviously have some drivers out there trying to save some fuel. Keith Moyer was 8 seconds behind Bradley Berry not that long ago. That lead has shrunk to 4.5 seconds. He was gaining on Bradley. Loses a little bit of time there, but he is getting quicker. Last time by, he was 0.7 of a second faster than third place Bradley Berry. Looking through the lap times. There you can see their lap times last time around. And Kubai is definitely cranking up the speed. As he comes down through the infield is definitely where the Porsche is the better car. A lot more nimble around the corners, but doesn't have the same speed that the Mercedes has. So it has to take advantage of every corner in the infield, get as much as he possibly can. And he is, because he is chopping away at Josh Rogers' lead. And Jeffrey Heaney has gone to pit road and is still, let's see if we can get a look at his car. He is getting 4 fresh tires. That should help just a little bit with the problems he's been having. Quick temperature check, 30 minutes into the race. Track temperature 76, air temperature still 75 degrees. Remember, they have advanced time, or the time is advancing 8 times faster than what we are experiencing, so the sun will be up before long. The track will really start to heat up, and things will get a little bit sketchy for some of these drivers. Bill Schermatz is back on pit road. Bill has not had any issues today. He just did an early pit stop. But now he is back on pit road not that much longer after his last one. Only about 10-12 minutes since his last pit stop. Overshoots his pit stall. Let's see if he gets tires this time. It looks like Schermatz might have parked it. We'll have to wait and see the confirmation on that, but and Chuck Knobb just goes past Schermatz and picks up 6th place right behind, currently running a lap down, right behind 3rd place driver Bradley Berry. Stephen Kubai just ran the fastest lap of the race, and he beat Josh Rogers' earlier lap by 0.3 of a second. Nope, John Schermatz is coming back out on track. Not sure what happened there, but Jeff Heaney also just crashed. Coming down through the kink. Man, that kink really unsettles the Porsche. And Jeffrey goes out and visits some of the folks that are camping here. I honestly did not know you could get that car that far back. Josh Rogers continues to hold about a 4.5 second lead over Stephen Kubai. Josh Rogers just laid down an even faster lap, saw Kubai's lap time obviously, and said, you know what, that won't stand. 6/100ths of a second faster. Looks like these two are starting to crank it up late in the run. Bradley Berry back there in 3rd place, just continues to run consistent laps, just ran his fastest lap of the race as well. Not sure why John Shermatz has pitted twice already. Let's watch a lap with him and see. Jeffrey Heaney is back on pit road. It looked like he got stuck out there by the motorhomes. Had to get a tow. Down into turn one. A little wide, sets up for the apex. Clips a little bit of the grass there. I know he's not using every bit of fuel in that car every 20 minutes. Not sure what's going on with Shermatz, but obviously running a pretty clean race. He has been extremely fast. And Chuck Knobb has had an incident. Meanwhile, Steve Kubay is on pit road for his first pit stop. Chuck Knobb coming down for turn. Oh, and just buries it. The same thing we saw happen on lap 2 to another driver just happens again. Chuck Knobb buries it into the tire barrier. Stephen Kubay on pit road. Now, will Josh Rogers come down to pit road this time? Bradley Berry in third has gone to pit road. Expect a driver change here. Leader coming down to the back straightaway. Keith Moyer now takes second place while Bradley Berry and Steve Kubay are on pit road. Chuck Knobb also now on pit road. He will go ahead and take fuel, at least, possibly tires. Andrew Cowart is hopping in the car for Bradley Berry. Steve Kubay is now coming up off of pit road. Josh Rogers coming out of turn 4. The leader comes to pit road for the first time after 38 minutes. Hits the end of pit lane and hits the pit road speed limiter. Keith Moyer should be the next driver to pit. Once we cycle through the pit stops, we'll take a look at the positions and the gaps again. Obviously, some of these gaps are going to start to tighten up. Josh Rogers on pit road still. Judging by the timing of some of these pit stops, I don't believe Andrew Cowart or John Shermatz took tires. I do believe Steve Kubay took tires. John Shermatz is now in the draft of third place. Steve Kubay, he is a lap down. Actually, more than one lap down at the moment. But utilizing Steve Kubay, helping to draft around the track, pick up a little time. Josh Roberts is coming off pit road as Kubay is coming through 1 and 2. Down into the International Horseshoe, they're going to be back together nose to tail. Oh! And a wreck by Josh Rogers. And Stephen Kubay gets into him. Josh Roberts down into the horseshoe. Looks like he just tried to give a little too much gas. Kubay is right there. Kubay gets by and takes the lead. Josh Rogers in second. Andrew Cowart now in third. John Shermatz still in the draft of the leader now. Any mistake by Steve Kubay here will put him back on the lead lap. Keith Moyer now coming up off of pit road. Gregory Marks on pit road to complete the first round of pit stops. And once they all get back up around and past the start finish line, we'll take a look at where everybody stands. But right now, that wreck as Josh came off of pit road definitely shook things up quite a bit. Stephen Kubay now in the lead by 3.8 seconds. Andrew Cowart is 26 seconds behind Josh Rogers right now. John Shermott's in the white Ferrari there is between first and second place, just trying to get any advantage he can. Currently running in sixth place. And as everybody completes the lap, let's take a look at where everybody runs. Steve Kubay currently in the lead by 3.5 seconds over Josh Rogers in the Mercedes. Andrew Cowart has taken over the 68 car in third. Keith Moyer in fourth. He is 27 seconds behind third. Greg Marks is now 30 seconds back in fifth. John Shermott's 22 seconds behind, and he is gaining as here comes Josh Rogers. He's going to come by, and John Shermott's going to drop into the draft. Chuck Nobbs still going back in 7th place. And Jeffrey Heaney might be done. He is not currently on track. Steve Kubay had a over 4-second lead briefly on Josh Rogers. Josh has now gotten by John Shermott and is starting to gain. The lead now down to 2.9 seconds. Andrew Cowart back there in third, 31 seconds behind. But he has a safe bubble on either side of him. 31 seconds up to second place, 26 seconds back to fourth place. Keith Moyer, though, in fourth. So far, the biggest mover of the race tonight. He started in 8th. He is up in 4th. And the battle for the lead, Josh Rogers has has gained some more time, the gap now down to 3.2 seconds, and that will start shrinking on those straightaways. That Mercedes just has so much power, so much grunt. Let's take a look at his cockpit and see if we can see. There is the leader directly ahead. Oh, and Keith Moyer has crashed. Oh, Keith tried to cut the entry into turn 1 a little too hard. Obviously, the damage turned off. You see the Ferrari repair itself. Let's see if we can get a better angle. In the dark, it can be harder to see your corner entry. And it looks like he just tried to cut it a little too hard. I think he might have thought he overcooked it and tried to adjust, and there's where we ended up. And Josh Rogers is losing ground to the leader right now. as Steve Kubay is starting to pull away. 3.6 seconds is the lead now. Last time by, Steve Kubay 0.8 of a second faster. Fourth place, Keith Moyer, after that incident into turn one. We'll watch and see if he corrects and how he corrects that mistake this time. Down toward turn one, braking a little bit earlier and getting the nose set perfect. Gets that Ferrari perfectly through the first turn. If you've ever tuned in for the Sunday morning GT3 NSS broadcast, you know there are huge differences between these cars, and out on the banking, you won't notice a lot of it. But down through the infield, we'll take a part of the infield in the Porsche of Steve Kubay and see how different approaches because of the different ways the cars handle. Down through the horseshoe, cuts in a lot earlier than we saw the Mercedes cut earlier. Josh Rogers coming up off the turn. And we'll watch as Josh comes through the next one. The Porsche is able to cut these turns so much earlier, get the car straight, get back on the gas. Because of the Mercedes handling, it is a little tougher. You have to handle the turns a lot differently. John Shermatz has had an incident and is on pit road. Looks like he just overshot into the second horseshoe, ends up out in the wall, and took a tow to pit road. Keith Moyer, the highest running Ferrari right now. See if we can watch him drive part of the infield as well. And can take a little bit later entry into that corner. Starts his corner a little bit later, cuts it across, and already back on the power quicker than the other cars. The Ferrari definitely has the advantage coming off the turn. And that applies to every turn. The Porsche really gets in and gets the middle corner entry in the middle of the corner better. The Ferrari gets up off the corner so much better. And the Mercedes does not corner that well at all, but it has the power and speed advantage. Plus, it just sounds meaner. You know when you're being passed by a Mercedes. Speaking of being passed by a Mercedes, Josh Rogers has started closing the gap on the leader again. It is now down to 2.8 seconds. Meanwhile, Steve Kubay out front. Trying to keep that gap equal or even grow it a little bit. Andrew Cowart back in third. The gap to second has grown, but the gap behind him has grown as well. In fact, now that I think about it, I do believe that that 68 car is the only car to have not had some sort of on-track incident yet. Josh Rogers had the incident earlier in the International Horseshoe when Steve Kubay got into him, and Kubey retook the lead. Keith Moyer had an incident into the pit wall. I don't think Gregory Marks has had an incident yet either, come to think of it. And he is currently running in 5th. Everybody else on track has had an incident except for those 2 cars. Especially considering that that car has already had 2 drivers in it. But it might be because of that, these guys have the opportunity to catch their breath between stints in the car. Looks like John Shermatz, when he went to pit road, I don't believe he is even in the race anymore. He might have retired. Bit of a heartbreak. He was one of the fastest on track the first part of this race. Steve Kubey in the lead is actually gaining on 5th place Gregory Marks. And Charles Knobb is in the grass. Let's see what happened here. Coming through the second horseshoe, I do believe, just gets on the gas a little too early. Fortunately, gets the car into the grass so he's not in the way as the leaders come by. Keith Moyer also just had an incident, and Chuck Knobb manages to hold off in the grass while the top 3 come by. Keith Moyer through the final horseshoe on the gas and goes around as well. Almost identical to what the Lambo did just a few moments before. Steve Kubey still has the lead, but Josh Rogers is coming quickly. 1.6 seconds behind. Track temperature still holding at 76 degrees. Air temperature 75. But the sun will be up shortly. And Josh Rogers is closing on the leader. Down through the bus stop, he gains a lot of time on the straightaway. As mentioned, that car does not handle great. But man, has it got power. Meanwhile, the Porsche does not have the same power on the straightaways, but it definitely has the handling advantage. And just to show you what we are talking about, this is following Steve Kubey in the Porsche. As he comes up to speed down through the kink, 139, 140, gets on the brakes. And those rear brakes are really starting to glow. But notice the front brake's not glowing a whole lot yet. Obviously using a lot of rear brake bias, trying to get that car to rotate on corner entry. Back out onto the high bank, down toward the bus stop, one of the fastest parts of the track. .160 miles an hour as he comes toward the bus stop. 165 before he gets on the gas into the bus stop. Back out of the bus stop, back up to full throttle. Coming out of turn 4, 161 miles an hour. 165. 168. 169. Will he hit 170? He does as he gets on the brakes into turn 1. Now to follow Josh Rogers in the Mercedes. Top speed of the Porsche on that lap driven by Steve Coubet was 170 miles an hour. Expect the Mercedes to do a little bit more. And Randy Ayers cheering on Steve Coubet. Easy in, fast out. Definitely. All right, headed out of the infield again. Back on the throttle. Rogers in the Mercedes comes up to speed. $160 miles an hour as he comes out of turn 2. Gets up to 165, a mile an hour faster than Coubet did through that section. Now, what does he get as they come out of the bus stop down toward the start-finish line? Off turn 4, already 169, 170. 171, 172, 173, barely clips 174. One of the few tracks where the Mercedes has a distinct power advantage. Let's see what Keith Moyer can do in the Ferrari. This new Ferrari just came out a couple of months ago. The handling is better, less twitchy than the old version. And it does have a better speed balance as well. Out of turn 2. Down the back straightaway, already at 153, 154 miles an hour. And he gets all the way to 165 before getting on the brakes into the bus stop. Back on the throttle out of the bus stop. Looked like he carried a little bit more speed out of the bus stop as well. Can he get up to into the 170s? Can he get up to 175 like we saw out of the Mercedes? 171, maybe 172 out of the Ferrari. The Ferrari, probably one of the most balanced cars as far as handling and speed goes, but does not excel at any one thing like the other cars do. Meanwhile, Josh Rogers staying about 1.4 seconds back, closes up every time on the straightaway, but loses a little bit of ground in the turns. Plus, we have seen Josh Rogers play fuel strategy more than once here tonight. And as we hit the 2-hour mark, it's worth, or the first 1 hour down, 2 hours left to go. It's worth noting that we should start seeing some pit stops any time. Looks like Chuck Knobb went to pit road a couple of laps ago. He is back out on track in the Lambo. Down into the bus stop, Josh Rogers, did not gain any time on that straightaway. I am guessing if we hop in the car, well, I was going to say he's not pushing it, but he definitely is pushing it. However, we are pretty sure that both drivers looks like took on fresh tires. And because they are running endurance setups, they could be able to stretch those tires multiple fuel stints, so we might see a little bit of strategy play out there as well. Josh Rogers still lingering about a second and a half back. Further back, third place, Andrew Cowart still has a bit of a bubble on both sides of him, but he is now 1 minute 18 seconds behind Josh Rogers, 1 minute 20 behind Steve Kubay. Looking at the times, as Keith Moyer is a minute 37 behind the leader, a lap here taking about 146 to 147. We could start seeing the top five going a lap down. But it really speaks to how fast Steve Kubay and Josh Rogers have been here tonight, that they are just that much faster. Gregory Marks back in fifth. As mentioned, one of the cleanest drivers. I know he has not had any major incidents throughout the entire race. Has just been back there steady laps all race long. And he is actually getting faster. He just ran his fastest lap of the race. Josh Rogers just led the fastest lap of the race and beat the former time by laid down by Steve Kubay by exactly 0.3 of a second. And these two have been leapfrogging lap times throughout the race. I guarantee when the sun comes up, that'll no longer be the case, but until it does, we might see some extremely fast laps out of these guys. All good, Randy. You made me question myself, buddy. But you have to ask yourself, Randy, you really have to ask, does Josh have a brother named Steve? And does that brother carry around a red, white, and blue shield? Just saying. It's always possible. Steve Kubay currently leads Josh Rogers in second as they come back to the start-finish line. Gonna check the lap times again here as they come to the start-finish line. Hopefully this will work out and we can see. Last time by, Steve Kubay was faster by 0.17 of a second. These two just are so close. Both their cars having advantages in different places on the track as Keith Moyer has come to pit road. I stand corrected. Keith did not. He clipped pit road so much that, as mentioned earlier, there's a couple of spots where if you clip it just right, it alerts that a driver is on pit road. But Steve Kubay having the handling advantage in the infield. Josh Rogers having the power advantage on the long straightaways. These two cars, these two drivers are really, really equal. It could come down to tire, pit, and fuel strategy. On the first run, Josh Rogers was definitely the dominant of the two drivers. Was faster, played a lot of strategy the first half of the run. Stayed in Steve's draft to save fuel. Later in the run, when he had a big lead, he was getting out of the gas, was not letting the car get over 6,000 RPM, was doing leaders on pit road. Steve Kubay comes to pit road for his second stop. Josh Rogers stays out. Will we see a driver swap when Andrew Cowart comes in? Keith Moyer in fourth, Gregory Marks in fifth, Chuck Knobb in sixth. Looking to see where the other drivers are. Now, we saw last time Josh stayed out longer and was not pushing the car to its limit. Is he doing that again? Oh, a little loose. Manages to hold on to a great save by Josh Rogers. Obviously, that tells us he is pushing the car still. He is not in fuel saving mode right now. Down the back straightaway. Nope, he is at full chat. Kubay is now back off of pit road. That was a fuel only stop for Steve Kubay. Cowart in third is going to stay out a little while longer. Now, how much longer does Josh Rogers stay out? He now has a 45-second lead after Kubay's pit stop. He's going to stay out yet again. Hey, my pleasure, Chuck. Hey. Chuck, you're supposed to be driving? Don't text and drive, buddy. Josh Rogers is actually coming around to lap some more drivers here. Looks like Keith Moyer and in fourth, Chuck Knobb in sixth right now, right in front of the leader. Moyer makes a power move, Knobb getting scooting over, letting the car ahead of him past. Josh Rogers still staying out. Nobody else has come to pit road. We've seen Keith Moyer and Steve Kubay, the only two that have made their green flag stop so far, their second round. And remember, after that last pit stop is when we started seeing a bit of chaos. And the leader continues to stay out, and I'm wondering how Josh Rogers, we know he stretched the fuel on the first run. I'm wondering how much further he can go this time. He went 21 laps on that first run. He's completed 38 so far. He should be able to go at least 4 more laps on that fuel. So him and Kubay's fuel strategy is now completely different. Most of the drivers in the first split stopped between lap 20 and 22. Josh Rogers stopped on lap 21. And Josh Rogers, continuing to put cars a lap down. As he comes into the bus stop, Kubey in second, Cowart in third, Keith Moyer in fourth. Keith Moyer has continued to march his way forward despite a couple of incidents. He started back in 8th, is now up to 4th, the biggest mover of the race. Gregory Marks now up to 5th. Chuck Knobb up to 6th place now after starting in 10th. So both Chuck and Keith have continued marching their way forward. Meanwhile, Josh Rogers continues to just monster away from the field. Last time by, he was almost 2 seconds faster than Steve Kubey. But Steve does now have a full fuel load. Josh Rogers taking advantage of the longer run, less weight in the car as the fuel burns off. Steve Kubey in second, Andrew Cowart currently running in third. And Cowart has actually started gaining a little bit on Stephen Kubey. But Kubey, after his pit stop, lost a lot of ground. Comparing pit stop times here, he did have the fastest fuel-only pit stop so far tonight. He did stop early, so he might have been able to take a little bit less fuel. Could see a lot of different strategies playing out here. The Porsche does tend to, because of the weight over the rear wheels, can get a little bit loose. The fuel balance can balance that out, make the car handle a little better. Might have been part of his strategy here to get a full fuel load, try and lay down some fast laps. And then when Josh Rogers hits pit road, he might be able to retake the lead with a bit of a gap. But last time by, Josh Rogers still 0.6 of a second faster than Steve Kubey. Andrew Cowart back in third. Now has Josh Rogers, the leader, right behind him. And we've talked about how much power that Mercedes has, how much top speed, acceleration, torque that car has. I think Josh Rogers' team might have put a few hundred extra horsepower in there tonight. He is just dominating right now. Or maybe he has nitrous. That could be it. He is now safely in the draft of Andrew Cowart as he pulls up. Look like, no, it's going to go to pit road. Josh Rogers comes to pit road. Lap 40 at the start of lap 41, so one lap earlier than we expected. He did not save any fuel late in the run like he did on the previous one. Stephen Koubay now on the back straightaway coming towards the bus stop. While the leader is on pit road, will Koubay be able to retake the lead here? Remember how close it was after the last pit stop. They ended up having an issue in the International Horseshoe. Rogers still on pit road. Koubay coming through NASCAR 3 and 4. Out of turn 4 comes Steve Koubay, and he is coming back to pit road. Steve Koubay is back on pit road. Looks like it might have been a fuel miscalculation. Something has gone wrong. He just drove through pit road. And still comes out of pit road ahead of Josh Rogers. Josh Rogers now rolling off pit road and almost 9 seconds behind. I have no idea what happened with Steve Koubay there. I got no words, folks. That is one of the craziest things. Unless he had it, have not seen him get that many incidents. He might have had a drive-through penalty. If that were the case, that would explain it, but even still. Josh Rogers does come. Oh, Josh Rogers is wrecking. Looks like he is coming out of, I believe that's the second horseshoe, and just gets a little too much of the rumble strips on the outside. That was the second horseshoe. Rogers gets the car going again, but is now 20 seconds behind Steve Koubay. What a change of fortunes. We still have no idea what happened with Steve Koubay, why he drove through pit road. Best guess, he got a penalty. But Josh Rogers, the last on the first pit stop, he came down into the International Horseshoe, got loose, turned it around. Steve Koubay hits him, but manages to sneak by and retake the lead. Then, while Josh Rogers is on pit road, he got 4 tires and fuel this time. While he's on pit road, Steve Koubay comes down, does a drive-through on pit road. Josh comes out 9 seconds behind him and spins in the second horseshoe. Wow. Let's all take a moment to realize what just happened was nuts. Andrew Cowart is on pit road, gives up third, and we should see a driver change here. Keith Moyer, who has consistently marched his way forward, now up into third. Chuck Knob, the other one that has continued his march towards the front, currently in 6th place, a couple of laps behind Gregory Marks, but continuing to march his way forward as well. Kevin Bruner is getting in the 68 car now, but he has slipped back to 5th while on pit road. He'll have a little bit of ground to make up here. Steve Koubay still has the lead as we approach the halfway point. Josh Rogers just laid down the fastest lap of the race. over a tenth of a second faster than his previous fastest lap. Track temperature, air temperature, still the same. Keith Moyer is now on pit road for his stop. Kevin Bruner now rolling in 5th place. He should retake 4th after these pit stops. Gregory Marks still has not been in for his second stop. That car, I think he must have had some problem off of the bus stop. He was not up to speed. I thought he might have been out of fuel. He is now slowing in for pit road. So Gregory Marks, Keith Moyer, now both on pit road. And Josh Rogers currently 16.5 seconds behind Steve Kubay. Last time he was 1.5 seconds faster than Kubay. This time as they cross the line, he is again 1.3 seconds faster than Kubay. And he's now going to have Keith Moyer, who's fighting to hold on to 3rd. Oh, Moyer gets a little bit of the wall there. No damage, so no harm, no foul on that one. Kevin Bruner 12 seconds back in 4th. Now has a little bit of ground to make up, but he is gaining on Moyer. And Steve Kubay has gone off track. The leader has had a problem. Down through the second horseshoe. Just gets off in the grass, has to get out of the throttle, gets the car straightened up, but did cost him a little bit of time. Cost him about a second just in that one little mistake. So now we're looking at a battle between Steve Kubay and Josh Rogers, with Josh Rogers gaining. Keith Moyer in 3rd has Kevin Bruner in 4th, gaining on him. And Gregory Marks is gaining on both of them, at least at the moment. In fact, the last time by, Keith Moyer and Kevin Bruner's lap times were identical. Gregory Marks was 1/100th of a second faster. And Josh Rogers has cut another second off the lead. Steve Kubay, this is where he had a problem last time, obviously being a little bit more gentle. Endurance racing is not always about who is the fastest, it's who is the most consistent and the smartest. It is a chess game. But it is multi-level chess at times. Josh Rogers continues to cut away the lead, now down to 13.3 seconds. Kubay really slowed down on that last lap and gave him a chance. We'll see if he's picked up the pace as he comes across the start-finish line. 147.24 for Steve Kubay. $146.72, so a half a second faster for Josh Rogers. But let's talk about the third place car who has not had the attention he deserves tonight. He has had an incident where he ended up in the wall. He struggled early in the race, went backwards, and has marched his way all the way up to third with smart strategy and a fast race car. He has picked up 5 spots since the start of this race. Started in 8th, up to 3rd place is Keith Moyer. A little wiggle out of the horseshoe. You can see, oh, and a little smoke as he brakes into the turn coming up onto the banking. He is definitely pushing that car for everything it's worth. His lap times are definitely showing it as they are continuing to come down. Kevin Bruner, who dropped back to 5th place during his pit stop, has now made his way back up into 4th. He is 15 seconds back. How much ground can he make up? Gregory Marks back in 6th, or in 5th, excuse me, is actually gaining on Kevin Bruner as well. The one driver in the field who has had 0 problems on track. Haven't hardly seen or heard anything out of Marks. He just continues to run consistent laps. May not be the fastest, but they are certainly the most consistent, and he has kept the car clean all night long. It has helped him get up to 3rd. And Chuck Knobb, who's back in 6th, has had a couple of issues, overcome them, and kept marching his way forward as well. And he is actually gaining a little bit of time now on 5th place Gregory Marks. A long way to go for Chuck, but he definitely has plenty of time left. Any mistake out of the drivers in front of him could be a huge benefit to him. John Schermatz and Jeffrey Heaney both out of the race. Kubay has cranked the speed up just a little bit. Last time by, he was 0.2 of a second faster than Josh Rogers. The lead holding at right around 13 seconds. Oh, and Chuck Knobb has crashed. I think that might have been the broadcaster's curse. I tried to say something nice. He buries it into the wall, but he backs it up and gets it going. That is one thing you got to say for a guy like that. No matter the problem, he is not giving up. And sometimes, especially in endurance racing, that's all it takes. Not giving up. Last time by, Kubay actually pulled a little bit of a gap. Keith Moyer has gone off track. Down into the final horseshoe and clips it a little too much. What a save, though. I don't think he actually was on the brakes at all. He was on the brakes getting into the turn. Let's see if we can get a slightly different angle here. That might show us, I don't know if we can get the brake lights or not. No brakes. That is pretty darn good. No brakes through the grass, gets out there, keeps going. Didn't lose very much speed in the process. Meanwhile, Steve Kubay has started pulling away again. Now the lead, 13.7 seconds, but Josh Rogers really seems to come on late in the run after the fuel is burned off. But just past the halfway point, Steve Kubay's lead continuing to grow. Does Rogers have enough time? And look at that, Josh Rogers flashing his lights for the fans. Or he was telling us, hey, yeah, I can get it done. Which one is it? Steve Kubay's lead now growing to 14.1 seconds. Kevin Bruner in third. Gregory Marks in fourth. Gregory starting to crank it up just a little. Keith Moyer has crashed. Down into turn one. He was twitching on under braking. Just loses the back end in the middle of one. And looks like he took a tow to pit road. Hopefully we'll see him back out in a moment. Let's see. He is no longer on track. We'll see if he makes it back out or not. Meanwhile, he was in 5th place. Chuck Knob was in 6th. Chuck Knob has an opportunity here to gain a couple of laps back after having to tow earlier in the race. He lost several laps. He's got an opportunity here to make up some of that ground, and he definitely is one of the faster cars, and the lone Lambo left in the field, I might add. So hopefully he can get that Lambo up into the top 5 before it's all over. Meanwhile, Steve Kubay holding the lead right at 14 seconds. And this has somewhat, as we pass the halfway point, become a race of attrition. 10 teams or let's just say 10 cars registered for the event. 4 are currently out, which left 6 cars on track. Possibly down to 5 now, with Keith Moyer potentially being out of the race. Kubay really cutting it kind of close there through turn one, a slightly different angle. I have to wonder if he got on the brakes a little too early this time by. It's a different angle and a different entry than we've seen so far out of him. Kubay and Rogers are 51 laps in. Kubay has been 15 laps since his last stop. His previous stint was 15 laps. 16 laps, from lap 20 to lap 36. So could we see him come to pit road this time? Josh Rogers is off track. After gaining a bunch of time, he comes down through the second horseshoe. gets on the brakes a little late, stomps him a little too hard, and goes wide. Gets back on it, only loses a little bit of time. So Kubay's lead is now 16.3 seconds. Brunner has made his way back up to third. And Chuck Knob is now officially up into fifth place, as Keith Moyer has not taken to the track yet. Five cars on track left to go. It has become a race of attrition. It is Stephen Kubay in the lead, Josh Rogers in second, Kevin Brunner in third, Greg Marks now in fourth and gaining on Brunner. Chuck Knob currently in fifth. Chuck Knob has done an amazing job capitalizing on the mistakes of the drivers around him. If any of the drivers ahead may have him make a mistake at this point, they might want to watch out. In fact, it's worth noting Chuck Knobb's fastest lap is 2 seconds faster than Gregory Marks' fastest lap and 2 seconds faster than Brunner's fastest lap. As Knob is coming down to pit road. We know Steve Kubay is within his pit window. Josh Rogers still has a lot further he can go. Stephen Kubay's lead 16.4 seconds right now. Looking to see if Josh Rogers has gotten the car back up to speed. Yes, he has, but fairly equal lap times as Chuck Knob is now coming back up off pit road. And he is going to come out right behind second place Josh Rogers. We'll give him an opportunity. If he can get to the back bumper and stay in the slipstream, he'll be able to make up some ground here. Oh! Steve Kubay gets a little bit of the grass as he comes through there, gets the Porsche a little squirrely there. But continues to pull away from Josh Rogers, at least for the moment. Kevin Brunner in third now has Gregory Marks closing in pretty quickly. Last time by, Marks was a full second faster than Brunner. That gap now down to 11 seconds. And you know, it is anybody's race still after the incidents we have seen throughout the night. Anything could happen here. We've seen both Kubay and Rogers have incidents that force them to give up the lead. Brunner, Marks, and Knob could still be in this fight. And let's take a lap in the lone Ferrari left in the field as he comes down toward the start-finish line. There's Barney the Flagman up in the stand. Check him out on Twitter because he's funny. Back on the gas out of turn one. Down into the International Horseshoe. You see he takes that wider corner entry like the Lambo and the Mercedes, but is able to cut back in a little more like the Porsche does. Down through the kinks, still in the throttle. Gets on the brake just past the little patch. The little asphalt patch there. A little squirrely under throttle. Gets her straightened out. Now the big left-hand turn up onto the banking. And unlike the current version of Daytona, this version still has grass there on the left side. So if the drivers have to be extremely careful when on the current version, even if you get in the asphalt, the back end is going to go around, but that grass will send you spinning to the wall. Down to the bus stop, gets on the brakes at the light pole just past the number 2. Back onto the throttle, out of the bus stop. And there you can see on the map, he is just a half a straightaway behind Kevin Bruner. That time by, he got the gap down to 9.7 seconds. So Gregory Marks is definitely picking up speed out here. Meanwhile, Stephen Kubay's last lap was 0.6 of a second faster than Josh Rogers. His lead now 17.25 seconds. Hey, Merry Christmas, Aiden the Kid Trevette. Hope you had a good Christmas there, buddy. And now, as you saw there, Kevin Bruner can now see Gregory Marks in his rear view mirror. Steve Kubay should be hitting pit road just in the next couple of laps. Josh Rogers will have 5 or 6 more laps to go. Kevin Bruner, 6 to 7 more laps. Gregory Marks and Chuck Knobb will have even more. I do think the Lamborghini, now that I look at it, probably has the most lighting of any of the cars in the field. Steve Kubay is on pit road. This is where Josh Rogers has taken advantage every time. Kubay hits pit road, Rogers cranks up the speed. Josh Rogers will come by and take the lead here for the next 5 to 6 laps. Aiden, is that your race car you're rebuilding? And Josh Rogers now has the lead. Steve Kubay currently on pit road. Kubay now rolling off pit road. It doesn't look like he'll have anybody else to contend with as he comes up off pit road. He is going to have a clear exit from pit road, and Josh Rogers 34 seconds ahead. Can Rogers capitalize on this again like he did during the last pit stop cycle? Or can Kubay run him down before he has to hit pit road? Kubay's stop was fuel only this time. Now Josh Rogers potentially can go about 5 more laps. Doing the quick math, some of these drivers should be able to go with Josh Rogers. Looks like he can go with just 2 more stops. Kubay will be on the fence between 2 and 3. Bruner, Marks, and Knob can all go on 2 more stops from here. And Josh Rogers is taking advantage and extending that lead over Kubay. Oh, nice, Aiden. Josh Rogers' lead now 36.1 seconds at lighter fuel load. The power of the Mercedes is definitely helping him out here.
Master Doug, are you getting bored?
No. So how was your run, Andrew?
Oh, it was all right. It was all right. We had some dirty tires. We put some fresh ones on there for Bruner. He's getting ready to finish up his run. He's got about 5 laps left, and then Bradley will be back in the car.
Now,
but no, it wasn't bad. I got a phone call like halfway through my stint, and I lost a lot of time because I was fumbling around messing with that. But no, other than that, she's running good. We don't have that many. The only incident points we got a couple off tracks. I think we've got like 5, so we're sitting pretty. Just trying to keep her in third, honestly, because we know we're not going to catch Kubay up there unless he spins it again.
I have to ask, I've done the math on this, and it looks like you guys will be able to do this on 2 more stops, whereas Kubay, it looks like, is going to be 3 more stops. Rogers will be able to do it on 2.
Yeah, that's pretty much what we got looking at the board right now. I don't think we're gonna be able to make them. Those guys are just crazy fast. We just don't have the. We got a good group of 3 drivers here, but we're just not. Oh, where's he going?
Hold on. Kevin Bruner goes off track. I believe that is in turn 1.
Oh, get it turned around, Bruner. Get it turned around. Get it turned around. Don't hit the wall. Oh, you hit the wall.
Yeah.
Well, I spoke too soon. See, I shouldn't have said anything. But. Well, it was going great until that little incident just happened. We'll be alright. We're still in 4. We'll catch up to Marks after the pit stop. But yeah, those front 2 guys, they're just on another level right now. But yeah, other than that, she's running good. We had Shermats behind us earlier, and I don't really know what happened there. Um, they dipped out. Not too sure about that, but I thought we were gonna have a good battle there. Brad was driving there when that took place. I thought we were gonna have a good battle there for a little while, but then like I said, I don't really know. Uh, I don't really know what happened with that.
Well, it does happen from time to time, but you guys have had a pretty consistent run. I know Marks was gaining on you guys at the last part of this run. Now, obviously, in third after Bruner having an issue in turn one, but once Bradley gets back in, is he going to be able to catch back up to Marks?
Um, we'll see. I think he's gonna be on older tires this run. He was on freshies. He was on fresh tires his first stint. Now he's gonna be on the second iteration on these tires. So we'll see. He's got a clean line for the most part. We're struggling on pace right now. I think the darkness is affecting it a little bit. Um, but yeah, we're struggling to hit that. We're really trying to shoot for that 157 mark, but I couldn't get it done in qualifying. So we're still struggling slightly on pace, but other than that, it's not been too bad. It's been a good drive other than that incident right there. That's the only car damage that we've taken the entire run. So,
Well, you guys and Marks have actually been two of the cleanest cars throughout the race. I don't think Marks actually has any incident points, come to think of it, but you guys have had a pretty clean run and stayed in a podium spot the whole race.
yeah, well, that was kind of the plan. Like coming into it, no matter what we qualled, the plan was to just take care of the car and not really worry about where we were sitting. Just keep the car clean for the duration and see how it goes. It's the first time driving together as a team. I mean, I've raced with Brad for years, but this is the first time we've all come together and raced as a team, especially at night in a long endurance race. I mean, it's only 3 hours, but it's a first, so that was kind of our game plan coming into this whole thing, was just take care of the car and let everything else just kind of happen. As long as the car stayed clean, we'd come out in a pretty good spot.
Well, good luck, man. Looks like Chuck is back on pit road, so you guys should be doing any time now. About 3 more laps, I think.
Yeah, about 4. He got about 4 more. He'll probably do 4. Yeah, he'll do 4 more, and then we'll put Brad in the car, and then I'll finish it up.
All right, man. Good luck, buddy.
All right, buddy.
All right, Andrew Cowart dropping in. Let's take a look at Bruner's crash real quick. Heading down into turn one. Looks like he just gets on the brakes a little too hard. And we talked about it in pre-race. Get the angle the least bit wrong. You end up flying down on that pit road access road. Trouble getting the car turned around and going the right way, but he does eventually get there and drops back into fourth, 11 seconds behind Marks. Will he be able to make up ground? However, Steve Coubet had an off track a moment ago. Coming out of turn one, gets it. Oh! That car had the back end way up in the air. Manages to hold on to it. Nice save. And Coubet had another off track just a little while later. Looks like, oh, he just gets into the grass there. And Marks just now had an issue. Going down into the second, the second horseshoe goes way wide, manages to keep it out of the wall. Nice drift. Josh Rogers is on pit road. About when we expected him. After that incident, Coubet lost a little bit of ground. He retakes the lead as Rogers is coming up off of pit road now. And it looks like Rogers has made up a lot of the ground he lost earlier. We'll see where it shakes out here in a moment. He's currently just over 8 seconds behind Coubet. Marks in third, lost a lot of ground as well. Bruner now within 6 1/4 seconds. Expect him on pit road and Bradley Berry to take over the car. And if Bruner keeps marching his way forward, could make Bradley Berry's job a lot easier. Oh, that's nice, Aiden. Kubey coming around Chuck Knobb, who is currently in 5th. Chuck trying to stay in the draft of the Porsche, pick up a little bit of time here. Looks like he's doing a pretty good job. He's actually closing in on the Porsche on the straightaway. Off into turn 1. Make sure he doesn't cut it too tight. And Kubey's lead continues to shrink. It's down under 8 seconds now. Josh Rogers in second is closing in. Now, as mentioned, Josh Rogers should only need to make one more pit stop, whereas Stephen Kubey will likely have to make 2. And actually, Steve Kubey is the only driver as of right now that we know will have to stop 2 more times. It looks like every other driver only has to make one more pit stop in the next hour. Greg Marks, Kevin Bruner, and Chuck Knobb still all have to make pit stops. So they will definitely only have to make one more stop after this. Bruner is holding Marks about 7 seconds ahead. Gains a little bit, loses a little bit, but averaging right around 7 seconds. Meanwhile, Josh Roberts is closing in down to about 7.8 seconds. Although not making gains as quickly as what we saw earlier in the race. And Kubey managing to not lose a ton of time considering the incident he had just a bit ago. See if we can find the replay on that one. There he is coming through turn 1, gets a little wide into the grass, catches the curbing and rumble strips wrong, hits the inside wall there, the pit wall, manages to keep it going, did not lose a significant amount of time. Bruner is on pit road. They will have a driver swap. Bradley Berry will be back in the car. Josh Rogers in second, still trying to make up ground on Kubey. Gregory Marks should be in. He's currently running in third and has had a really, really consistent, really great run up to that position, keeping that car almost completely out of trouble all night. Should see him on pit road this time, I do believe. And then Bradley Berry will come out. The gap was 7 seconds when Bruner hit pit road. Can Bradley Berry catch and pass and reclaim third? All right, it looks like Bradley Berry is rolling off pit road. Will Gregory Marks come to pit road this time? Can he go that extra lap? And Marks is going to come to pit road, so now it is all on Bradley Berry to make up as much ground as he can while the third place car is on pit road. Meanwhile, Josh Rogers knows that the first place car of Steve Kubay has to make 2 more stops. He only has to make 1. Bradley Berry, currently in 4th, is coming through the infield, back out onto the high bank NASCAR portion of the track. Mark still sitting on pit road. And it does look like Bradley Berry has a fresh set of tires for this run to get them through to the end of the race. Bradley Berry down the back straightaway toward the bus stop. Gregory Marks still on pit road. Through the bus stop, Bradley Berry coming up to speed. Chuck Knobb just had an incident. We'll take a look in a minute. But the battle for third may play out here. Bradley Berry coming through 3 and 4. And Gregory Marks just started rolling off of pit road. Here comes Marks off pit road. He is trying to get up to speed as quickly as possible. Bradley Berry is getting into turn 1 as Marks comes off the pit access road down into the International Horseshoe. The gap between them now 8.5 seconds. Bradley Berry is gaining on him. Let's see what happened to Chuck. Off into turn number 1. A little too much brake, and he goes around, fortunately able to back it up in time for the leader to go by. Great save by Chuck on that one. Bradley Berry now 7.5 seconds behind Gregory Marks and gaining. Josh Rogers 8 seconds behind Steve Kubay. Has not gained very much in this event, or in this stint rather. Kubay just running the most consistent laps he has done of the night. Rogers, knowing Rogers has to push. But I am sure Rogers has also done the math and know he has one less pit stop to make here tonight. Gregory Marks in 3rd place after the incident with Bruner. But Bradley Berry is gaining on him. And Chuck Knobb just no quit in this guy. Currently, he started in 10th. He is up to 5th. The battle between 3rd and 4th is a 7-second gap. The battle between 1st and 2nd, an 8-second gap. 55 minutes to get the job done. The car in 4th place right there will have one more driver change on their pit stop. Gregory Marks will have but one more pit stop. Josh Rogers will have one final pit stop. Steve Kubay is likely to need 2 stops to go the distance. That could be the difference right there. He said early on in the race, this could come down to fuel and tire strategy, pit strategy. And it is looking like that is going to play out. Kubai stopped just 5 laps before Josh Rogers, but in a 1 minute 46 second lap, that is a lot of time. And Kubai has started gaining on Josh Rogers, or pulling away from Josh Rogers, almost 9 seconds now. Kubai really makes up a ton of time in the infield, but Rogers makes it back on the straightaways in the high-speed portions. Meanwhile, Marks is 6 seconds ahead. Bradley Berry is starting to run down Gregory Marks. When Bradley Berry came off pit road, the gap was 8 seconds. That gap now down to 6. Actually, down to 6 seconds now. Gregory Marks pulling away a little bit through the high-speed section, but Bradley Berry making up a ton of time every single lap in the infield. Meanwhile, Josh Rogers has lost more time. Kubai has pulled away to 9 seconds. But Josh can afford to let him get away just a little bit as long as he knows he only has to stop one more time. Meanwhile, Kubai last stopped on lap 57, 12 laps ago. He'll have to stop in another 8 laps. And then another 20 laps after that. It'll be very close if he's conservative on fuel. Can he go the distance? I don't think it is possible trying to do the math on this one, but I do not think Kubai can make it on one more stop. Everybody else can. Kubai's lead still 8.5 seconds. And look at this. Bradley Berry has now picked it up. He is only 5.5 seconds behind Gregory Marks. And he made up 2.5 seconds in just over 3 laps. Bradley Berry continuing to try and run down Gregory Marks. There will be one more driver change for that team. Chuck Knobb, currently in 5th, is just running his own race. Only has to keep that car going the right way and be consistent from here on out, and he'll have a top 5 finish. After starting in 10th and consistently moving forward, no matter the problem, he has not given up yet. Josh Rogers continuing to try and gain. The lead is fluctuating between 8 and 9 seconds. But the real battle is growing back here for third and fourth place as Bradley Berry now has that gap down to 5 seconds. Looking at the lap times, last time by, Bradley Berry was a second and a half faster than Gregory Marks. Josh Rogers was a quarter of a second faster than Steve Kubay. And the gap between first and second still holding at about 8.5 seconds. Last time by, Gregory Marks and Bradley Berry's laps were identical. 149.56 for both drivers. And get this, the last time by, the fastest lap was run by Chuck Knobb. He has still got a lot of speed in that car. Had it not been for the earlier issues, he would be in contention. And it's worth noting, at one point he was over 5 laps down to the Bradley Berry and Gregory Marks team. He's made up a couple of laps. He is now only 3 laps down to the 2 cars in front of him and 5 laps down to the leaders. So not only has he made his way up to 5th, had some of the fastest laps out there, but he has continued to make up laps. That is an impressive run out of Chuck. I'm flat amazed. Steve Kubay still holding the lead at just over 8 seconds over Rogers. Gregory Marks and Bradley Berry, that gap now down to 4 3/4, and Bradley Berry continues his march forward. Last time by, Bradley Berry ran his fastest lap, as did Gregory Marks. Gregory Marks 149.03, Bradley Berry 148.66, right at 0.4 of a second. A little wide there by Bradley Berry. But he is definitely sending it, trying to make up any ground he can. It looks like Bradley Berry did lose a little bit of time there through the infield that time by. Berry has been consistently faster than Marks the last 4 or 5 laps. And Steve Kubay should be closing in on his pit stop. About 4 more laps for Kubay before he has to pit, and that will be the first of his 2 remaining pit stops versus everybody else only needing 1 more. Josh Rogers knows he only needs 1 more stop here. 8.3 seconds behind. He'll make that up in no time when Kubay goes to pit road. The question will be, how much more can he get? Gregory Marks has started pulling away from Bradley Berry now, the lead up to 6 seconds. That's the battle for third and fourth, and Bradley Berry had been running Marks down, but now Marks has started pulling away just a little bit. The gap was down to 4.5 seconds. Marks has pulled it up to 6 now. Bradley Berry still sending it, trying to get everything he can out of the car. Chuck Knob is on pit road. Josh Rogers has had an incident. Coming down toward the International Horseshoe. Oh, the back end comes around on him. Gets the car going again, but the ground he had made up is gone. The gap now between the leader and second place is 17.5 seconds. Kube looking for any advantage to compensate for having to make an extra pit stop late in the race. Could that have been the deciding factor right there? Could Josh Rogers' chances at a win have just ended? With 42 minutes left to go, he is 17.3 seconds behind. And the battle between third and fourth, Marks has pulled away to 6.25 seconds above Bradley Berry. Chuck Knob is back off pit road. I'm not sure. He might have to make one more stop still. Gregory Marks had pulled away over 6 seconds to 6.25, but it looks like Bradley Berry has started making up ground again. And the sun is coming up. And now we watch the track temperature closely. 76 degrees right now. 75-degree air temperature. The sun coming up, the track getting warmer, everything heating up. Things could change dramatically yet again. Kube still holding the 17.5 second lead over Josh Rogers. Bradley Berry has really cranked it up. He went from being 6 seconds behind down to 4.8. Last time by, Bradley Berry 0.8 of a second faster. Steve Kube starting to pull away yet again from Josh Rogers. Remember, Kube still has to make 2 more stops. Should see Kube's next stop anytime. Could very well be this lap. Greg Marks has gone off track. Let's see if the leader hits pit road, and then we'll take a look at it. Bradley Berry is taking third. Steve Kube coming out of NASCAR 4. He is hanging low. Is he coming to pit road this time? No, he's not. What happened with Gregory Marks? Down into the International Horseshoe. And just overshoots the turn out to the outside. Well, that is the first mistake I think we've seen out of Gregory Marks all night. And Bradley Berry slips by. Gregory Marks has had another incident. Coming out of the second horseshoe, trying to stay with Berry, overshoots there too. Did say these single driver teams, it is exhausting to be out here. It is difficult for them to keep going, to keep focus. Some of these guys have been out here for almost 4 hours with an hour of practice, 15 minutes of qualifying, a 5-minute warm-up session, and a 3-hour race. Some of these guys have been here for every minute of it. They are worn out, they are tired, their brains are just mush at this point. I can speak from experience on this one. Bradley Berry, however, is leading a 3-person team. And they have made their way back into third. Their lead over Marks now 12 seconds. Chuck Knobb has crashed. Right in front of Gregory Marks. Down through turn 1, just overcooks it. Marks gets by. Great job holding the brakes. And Steve Kube is on pit road. Now is Josh Rogers' chance. Josh Rogers will easily assume the lead here. Did Kube stretch far enough to save the fuel he needs? It is extremely close on Kube's fuel. Trying to do the math in my head, and it's just right there on the fence. If he reassumes the lead and can control the pace, control his fuel, he might be able to pull it off. Josh Rogers will have to make one more stop. The question is, does Kube need to make another stop? 35 minutes left, and it might come down to fuel and pit strategy. Remember, Rogers was saving fuel early in the race. We saw once he got out to a big lead, he took a lap and never let the engine get over about 5,000 RPM. Kept his foot out of it, let that lead diminish back down to about 5 seconds, and then took off again. He extended his run further than everybody else. Now he's got a 32-second lead. He's got to pick up as much speed as possible. There will be no fuel conservation here. Kube currently running in second after he made what could be his final stop, or it could be his second to last stop. The fuel is just too close to call. Bradley Berry in third after reclaiming third after Gregory Marks has an incident. has now pulled away in third place with 16, almost 17 seconds on Greg Marks. Josh Rogers' lead has started to shrink just a little bit. As it looks like Kube is starting to gain on him. Does Kube need to save any fuel though? Does Josh Rogers need to save any fuel here? We know Bradley Berry and Greg Marks are both going to stop again. Bradley Berry will have a driver change in the car. Andrew Cowart will take his final stint when Bradley Berry comes in. Josh Rogers' lead holding at 31.5 seconds, knowing he has to pit one more time. And again, the fuel on the second place car of Stephen Kube is just so close, it's impossible to call. Kube is probably going to come down to if he can push the car or if he has to save fuel. Gregory Marks is on pit road for his final stop. Josh Roberts has about 4 more laps before he has to stop, maybe 5. And Chuck Knobb has crashed. Down into turn 1. Looks like he caught the bump wrong into turn 1 that time. There is a massive bump as you go off into turn 1 in this older version of Daytona. Can it unsettle the car extremely bad. Taking a quick look, the track temperature and air temperature still holding the same. Kube in second place has not made any more headway, but has not lost any ground. Let's take a ride with him, see if he is saving any fuel at all here. It certainly does not seem as if he is trying to save fuel. No, Kubai is definitely not saving fuel. Now let's see if in the Mercedes, if Josh Rogers is trying to save any fuel. He should not need to. Should be able to push that car to the absolute limit. Out of the international horseshoe down toward the kink. And no, he is not making any effort to save any fuel at all. In fact, from the sound of it, coming out of that second horseshoe, he was pushing really hard. Sounded like he might have gotten just a little bit of tire slip out of that one. Bradley Berry out in third has opened up a huge gap over Gregory Marks. It looks like Marks is... He had a fuel-only stop. And a rather quick one. I'm not sure why he lost as much time as he did. Have to wait and see when Bradley Berry makes his final stop. Will Gregory Marks be able to catch back up to him? Josh Rogers still holding the lead at 31.5 seconds. And I do believe we will see Rogers in this time. And then the question becomes, does Kubai have enough fuel to go the distance? Rogers comes back out onto the banking. Should be heading for his final pit stop this time. Actually, this might be the longest run Rogers has taken. We'll have to, if he extends, it definitely will be. He has maintained that gap at 31.5 seconds. Here comes Josh Rogers for his final pit stop. Kubai in second place, 31 seconds behind. Kubai will easily reclaim the lead here. And then the question is, can he make it on fuel? Rogers still working his way down to his pit box. Rogers is in his pit stall. Kubai comes across the start-finish line, passes pit road, and takes the lead. Josh Rogers still on pit road as Kubai comes through the horseshoe. Down through the kink. Josh Rogers is still on pit road. He has to be getting tires this time. And even if Kubai stops again, if he has a quick stop late in the race, this stop by Rogers might have decided it. Is Josh Rogers being held for a penalty? Yeah, John, everybody was wondering what happened to you, buddy. Josh Rogers must have been assessed a penalty on pit road entry. That was the longest pit stop of anybody tonight. He still has second place. But this late in the race, no chance of catching Stephen Koubet unless Koubet does have to make another stop for fuel and he makes a similar mistake. Josh Rogers now showing a minute 31 behind Steve Koubet. We do not know if Koubet can go the distance on fuel from here. If he can, it will be extremely close. And Bradley Berry is on pit road for their final stop. Josh Rogers has had an incident. Coming back out onto NASCAR 1 and 2, gets loose. Spins it, manages to get it corrected fairly quickly, but loses even more time. Andrew Cowart is getting into the third place car. Gregory Marks still trying to make up time. In fourth place. The third place car is still on pit road. Could Marks make a comeback here? Cowart is rolling. Cowart will make it off pit road in front of Marks. And the leader, second place, Josh Rogers coming by as well. Rogers gets by clean. Cowart comes out in third, but Gregory Marks now 8 seconds back. Meanwhile, Koubet's lead now 1 minute 40 seconds. Almost a full lap ahead of second place. You can see it on the map. Koubet lit up with the green around him, and second place car of Josh Rogers not that far ahead of him. Another mistake by Rogers and Koubet could lap the whole field. Andrew Cowart, Gregory Marks might come down to a last lap battle as well. 20 minutes left, and it looks like Gregory Marks is gaining on him. And Chuck Knobb, who has stuck it out despite every bit of adversity he has faced, currently in fifth place, continues marching on. Third place, Andrew Cowart is just in front of the leaders. Josh Rogers in second place needs a miracle here. And Josh Rogers just turned the fastest lap of the race, a 1:46.04. Almost a full second faster than Steve Koubet. Shermont's Racing, this was their first outing learning about how to change the car or change drivers, team communications, etc. Great job. Looking forward to seeing the next event with them going full force. And yes, huge shout out to the single car drivers. Greg, Steve, and Josh, I have done a single 4-hour, I have soloed a 4-hour race. I have sworn to never do that again. It is not easy. These guys have been out here the 3-hour race, plus the hour of practice, plus the 15 minutes of qualifying, and the 5-minute warm-up. And these drivers sticking it out, keeping going, have done an amazing job tonight. Looking to see if Josh Rogers can break the fastest lap again, get down into the 145s. He has the fastest lap, just over a 145 right now. Steve Kubay in the lead, though, is about to lap the third place car of Andrew Cowart again. The two Porsches side by side through the International Horseshoe. And the leader is now trying to run down Josh Rogers. But still, 17 minutes left. Can Kubay go the distance on fuel? Andrew Cowart has had an issue. Gregory Marks appears to have taken third place back. The leader goes in front. Andrew Cowart gets off into the dirt, tries to save. Oh, he caught the access road and gets turned into the outside wall. What a heartbreak. He's still got time, but can he make up the ground as Greg Marks goes by? Now the gap is 6 seconds. Gregory Marks up to third. Now Andrew Cowart back to fourth. And let's check. I have not seen the track temperature. The track temperature has not changed throughout the race. So still 76 degrees. The drivers have had that to their advantage. Kubay's lead now 1 minute 37 seconds. With 15 minutes left to go, can he go the distance on the fuel? He last stopped 10 laps ago. He might actually. I think he can make it just barely. I think he can make it with about a lap, maybe half a lap to spare. It's close, but I do believe at this point, Steve Kubay can make it on fuel. "14 minutes left to go." Kubey out front has not gained or lost any time. Unless one of the top two makes a big mistake, that Steve Kubey will win. Josh Rogers will finish second. However, Gregory Marks and Andrew Cowart is far from over. Just 3.8 seconds separate the two, and Andrew Cowart is closing in. In car with Andrew Cowart, and there you see, that is his target. 13 minutes left. And if he can get within his slipstream, get the draft, it might be over. But getting to him will be one thing, and passing will be something else. Watching the split between the two drivers, Gregory Marks is just lost 1/10 of a second. And out of the bus stop is where Andrew Cowart gains a lot of time. He gains a lot of time in the infield. Does he have enough time left, though, to make up the difference? Chuck Nalp is on pit road for his final stop. Oh! Andrew Cowart loses it through turn one. What happened? Did he catch the bump wrong? And he gets stuck trying to get it going. Let's see what happened exactly there. As he comes down the front straightaway on the brakes. Oh, he clipped the grass. He caught a bump and then he clipped the grass. There you see, just angles in a hair too much, catches a bump, clips that grass with just the left front, but it was just enough to send him around. And Gregory Marks, that battle for third might have just ended. He now has 20 seconds over Cowart. And with just 11 minutes left to go, the battle between first and second is going to come down to Steve Kubey making no mistakes. Gregory Marks will finish third if he can continue just to run the consistent laps like he has the last few laps. Even with Andrew Cowart gaining a second a lap, there is not enough time left unless Gregory Marks makes a mistake. And Gregory Marks has made the fewest mistakes here tonight. He's made one. Looks like Marks was taking turn one a lot easier that time. He is definitely playing it a little bit safer right now. Josh Rogers in second after that mistake late in the race. Lost his shot at the win. Still holding on to second place though. One of the best drives of the day, has laid down consistently the fastest laps and has gotten faster throughout the entire event. And Steve Kubey has just been awesome all day. Had the lead very early on, lost it for a while, reclaimed the lead, got by Josh Rogers after an incident in the International Horseshoe, and has barely looked back. The only time he has given up the lead has been on pit road. He got the pit stops and fuel just about perfect. It's going to be really close on fuel, but at this point, I do believe he can make it. Steve Kubay has just over 8 minutes left to go. Probably 5 more laps. And he has to hope for 5 more laps. His last pit stop, lap 78. Currently on lap 93. He can go about 21 laps on a tank of fuel.
Burns.
Brad, you scared the crap out of me.
Sorry. Oh, man.
So, a rough end to y'all's race here after being in the top 3 most of the night.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, you know, after you push these cars for so hard and the tires get warm, that's the simplest little, you know, mistake has seen you going. You touch this grass and it's over.
It definitely is. I have been there myself.
Right. But it's been fun. I will actually say that. It's been fun. My first endurance team race.
And how did you like the first question? A lot of people don't know. Did one of you stay spotting and the other one go rest or, you know, take a break or whatever between when you weren't in the car?
Actually, no. We both, one was spotting, one was keeping an eye on the fuel, and every now and then we would keep an eye on whoever pitted, so where they were at on the track. We just kept relaying information to each other.
No, that definitely works out. I know when I did the 24 hours Daytona, I liked having somebody there keeping an eye on everything, so it's one less thing the driver has to worry about. Plus, you have somebody to talk to when you get annoyed or just get bored.
Oh, for sure. I mean, there's times like, for instance, right now, I'm watching Andrew. He's all by himself, right? So, you know, you got to do something to keep him going. Come on, you know, you got it. Be a cheerleader at times.
Yeah, you do. And if you don't have that cheerleader there, your mind definitely starts to wander just a little bit. Like,
yes, fatigue does come into play.
And we have seen that happen with some of the single drivers here late in the race starting to make a few mistakes that hadn't seen earlier.
Right. That was one thing we were talking about at the start of the race was who's going to get tired first and who's going to wear out.
If I had to guess, I would call it Josh Rogers because he was by far the car to beat earlier on, but a couple of mistakes late in the last hour and has kind of put him back in second with very little chance of getting the lead at this point.
Oh yes. I'm just hoping that car in front of us, I'm hoping he makes a huge mistake and Andrew can rally back up there.
Well, I don't see it being likely, but it's going to be close on his fuel as well as Kubay's, so you never know. You might get to pick up a little bit of time if he has to go get a splash of gas.
Oh, for sure. You're right about that. But I'll say one thing. When you have a rest period, and then I came back out and drove, man, I was pushing that car harder than I've ever pushed before.
I can
imagine. It seemed like I was catching him every lap.
And you actually were there for a very long time. You were gaining as much as a second a lap at times. It was just crazy how fast you guys go. At the first part of a stint, you're really pushing harder than you do any time else.
That's right. That's exactly right. So, all right, I'm going to let you go back to broadcasting, and I'm going to go back here to the hauler and take me a little nap.
All right, man. Good luck and congratulations. Heck of a run tonight.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. I appreciate it.
My pleasure. All right, 4 minutes, or just over 4 minutes left to go. Steve Kubay has the lead. by a minute and 37 seconds. He's close on fuel, as is Gregory Marks. Both drivers stopped at lap 78. Steve Kubay has been out there. He is on lap 95. Gregory Marks, lap 92. Marks is close, but should be able to make it. Kubay is right on the fence. I think he'll make it, but I think he'll run out of fuel. Looks like we should get, this should be 2 to go. Next time by, I do believe they will get the white flag. We'll have to wait and see if they go one more lap. If Kubay makes it back quickly enough that they have to go one more lap, that could be the deciding factor for a few people. I know Josh Rogers in second is hoping that they do not get the white flag as Kubay comes back around. Gregory Marks in third has 11 seconds over Andrew Cowart after that late race error. And Chuck Knobb has stayed in this thing no matter what. He is going to come home with a 5th place finish, a hard fought 5th place finish. What a recovery he has had tonight. What a comeback, and just no giving up. As he comes down the back straightaway, when he gets around to the front straightaway, we will hop into the car and see if he gets the white flag, but I don't. It's going to be close. I do not think Kubay is going to get the white flag this time. No, he will not get the white flag. He would have to be under a minute 40 left to get the white flag, I believe. Chuck Knobb on pit road. Barney does not have the white flag in hand. They will get the white flag next time by. Kubay has the lead. Josh Rogers in second with the extra lap. Can Kubay make it on fuel? This is going to be close. Let's see if he is not conserving anything. Nope, he is still going full throttle around the track. So Steve Kubay will get the white flag this time. Can he make it back around one more time? Gregory Marks should be able to make it around one more time. We'll have to wait and see to confirm that, but I do believe he can easily make it around. There is a very slight possibility that they do not get the white flag, but I don't see any way they don't. Coming down the front straightaway, looking up at Barney, the flag man. White flag is in the air for Steve Kubay. All he has to do is complete the next 3.5 miles. Down through turn one, just has to be consistent. You know, Josh Rogers is sitting there hoping he runs out of fuel somewhere in the middle of the track. Kubay comes out of the International Horseshoe down to the kink one more time. Rogers not that far ahead of him. Kubay has managed to lap everybody except Josh Rogers. Most of them multiple times. Out of NASCAR 2, down the back straightaway the last time around. Down through the bus stop. He is not even pushing as hard as we have seen. Still under power, still has fuel. Should be able to coast from here. Out of turn 4, down the front straightaway. Across the line, Steve Kubay wins at Daytona. Josh Rogers, by virtue of where he was in relation to the leader, will still have to complete one more lap. As will Gregory Marks, Andrew Cowart, and Chuck Knobb, And based on Steve Kubay's mileage, we know Marks can go the distance from there. Now I'm curious if Kubay will run out of fuel. Looks like he is working his way back around to do his celebration. Josh Rogers coming back out onto the banking for the last time. Kubay coming through the infield. I think he might be... He is way low on fuel. He is short shifting and doing everything he can to try and make it back to the start-finish line. That is how close he was on fuel. Down the back straightaway, he might need a push to get back to the start-finish line. That was extremely close on fuel. Josh Rogers will take second place as he comes down the front straightaway. Gregory Marks is going to finish third. Andrew Cowart is fourth. And Chuck Knobb is fifth. And Kubay has the car up to speed, at least for the moment. He is going to limp it back to pit road on fumes. It does not get any closer than that on the chance. If that had gone one more lap, Josh Rogers would have pulled off the win. We'll wait to see for a moment to see if Kubay hops into Discord and we can interview him. What a drive. And the fuel strategy was perfect. There was one stint. He only did 16 laps. Could have saved a little bit of fuel there. Didn't. Just kept pushing. Never saw him in fuel saving mode all night long. Hey, Kevin.
Hey, Doug. That was could have been a little more exciting, but everybody kept it clean and raced hard.
It was a good, clean race, man. Congratulations. It looked like a lot of fun, and Randy Ayers is already saying you guys need to do more of them.
Oh, we definitely want to, that's for sure. Randy spent a whole night giving us a tutorial how to switch drivers and strategies, and we couldn't have done it without Randy.
Well, man, it was a great, great race. I can't believe it came down to... If that race had gone one lap more, Josh would have won it. And a great run by you guys' team. Obviously some late race problems, but you guys had a consistent run all night as well.
Well, we tried to stay out of trouble. That was our main goal, to run consistent, stay out of trouble. And we still found trouble.
Amazing how often that happens.
I do have to say, we were talking, and we can only imagine how tired the guys are that did it single.
Yeah, I can promise you they are very, very tired right now. Some of them are probably going to have difficulty getting out of their chairs or their rigs. I know I did.
Oh, I hear you. I hear you. Well, thanks, Doug, for everything tonight. You did a fantastic job. I had the broadcast on in one ear and the race in the other.
Well, great job to your team and great job by all the drivers. That was one heck of a race.
Well, we're already talking about doing it again, so we'll keep you in the loop.
All right, man. Thank you, buddy. And thank you guys so much for tuning in. It has been a fun night of racing. Don't forget to check out the website, htsai.net. It is under construction. We'll have a new look before long and all the current schedules for 2022 as well. And go check out the YouTube channel for all the races you have missed in the past, and more streams during the day are coming soon. Thank you guys so much and have a wonderful night.